You are getting not sleepy. We're here with Matt Hale, the hypnotist, comedian extraordinaire.
Yeah, what a fun chat that was.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, incredible. Had a lot of fun. I got hypnotised.
Yeah, Branchy gets hypnotised towards the end. So what did we make him do, Matt? We got.
Oh well, I think we
Yeah,
should leave that
leave
to the listener. But let's say there's a very unique sporting team coming to the AFL league this year. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. But we spoke about a lot of things. Spoke about hypnosis and stuff. So what are we talking about?
Well, kind of went through, how the mind kind of makes certain patterns, how it can be used in different ways and different ways it has been used. And
And we looked at some myths. We looked at some science. We talked about weird things like past life regression, false memories, if that's true or not. Very in-depth and interesting look into our minds.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Let's get hard.
Let's get hard.
Hammerheads, baby.
Hey.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host.
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
Yeah. I've just put a plant in front of us.
Should we move it?
Yeah, I'll put it there for optics, but
I think we're going to have to get a bigger one and put it in the back corner.
in the back corner.
Right,
yeah.
yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah.
So
Easy.
And
we do pre-roll as well. So we'll do
introduce
the
it in
intro
post.
in post.
And then we also were joined today by a new
Another
switcher organised by
switcher.
Jamal. And the listeners have been asking and messaging, and a few people I've seen out in the public have asked, where's Jamal? And it doesn't matter what's going on with it, but he's still involved in the podcast, and hopefully in a few months, he's back involved in a bit more, which is good. But he's organised us. Young Daniel.
Daniel's son.
How are you, Daniel?
Good.
Yeah, cool. So if you hear,
mess up.
yeah, mate, if Jamal can do it in the state that he does it in, you can do it. I think you'll be all right. But
If my little brother can do it, I think anyone can do it.
yeah, 100%. So thanks for today, Daniel. So mate, I'm very excited by this.
Oh, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for asking me in.
Straight away, I'm already seeing similarities in hypnotism and mindfulness meditation.
Oh, yeah. And do you know what? That's what's become really good for me. I mean, I've been doing this full time for 12 years, but obviously been hypnotising people a lot longer before then. But, it's gone from being, what's that weird thing? We don't really understand it, to now most people, you don't have that kind of like weird vibe with it now, because as much as I've always presented in like the most modern way I can and break it down so the audience understand it, it's not this, it's not that, it's not weird, it's not mysterious, But now, because, there's a yoga room on every street now. Like people, that was weird 20 years ago. Like, you went to yoga, you must be some kind of hippie. But now, that's kind of commonplace. So anything to do with our mental health, the way we use our mind is very, very part of our general life now.
Yeah, even at the footy club and footy lads are like, macho. Now all of them, like yoga is so important for your body strength and flexibility and mobility.
Yeah.
They might not go down the sort of the mindfulness pathway as much, but they still do it.
Well, do you know what is used a lot in a lot of high level sports clubs is the visualization side of it.
Yes.
That's such that mental rehearsal. So your mind has a mental track to kind of roll along rather than actually kind of like
all the AFL clubs are doing it.
Yeah. So that all crosses over. Yeah.
Have you had much to do with professional sports? Or is it?
I had a couple of Eagles on stage the other night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Did I see Jack Darling came to your show the other day?
Jack Darling was on stage. But yeah, Jack Darling was at the show the other day.
Cool.
But no, it was kind of really fun. We had a show the other night. And
did you know who the lads were?
No, I didn't. But there's a couple of, and the funny thing is there's during the show there's a lot where the people act as a group in doing things together, and there's certain things that I use like individual people for, and there was this guy looks really good to do this part, and this guy looks really good to do this part. A couple of young guys, and they got up, they were crazy, amazing, like really fun. And then afterwards, someone said, do you know, that guy was the first draft pick for the Eagles. This is Reuben Gimby. And
Reuben Gimby?
Yeah. And Harry Barnett, I think that was their third draft pick. And, and it was amazing to have those guys because they were so fun. And you could see, look, they must have had some kind of crossover already with using their mind to be able to focus on something.
Is Reuben big?
Yeah, like everyone's big to me.
I had to move the camera down for today's episode. And we had Corey White on last week saying something.
He's Brad Shepard's pick. He reckons he's a future captain. Shep reckons. He told us about him on the podcast before he got
That's who he was
drafted.
talking about.
But Him and Harry's tall as well. In fact, I think Harry may even be taller. I'm not sure. Yeah. But like I said, I'm just looking up at these guys anyway, so hard to gauge.
I did see my sort of introduction into hypnotism being a thing that can actually really affect you and take hold of you was watching the Port Adelaide clip. Have you seen that one?
No.
So this is from like 5,
where
6,
they convinced
7
everyone
years
they
ago.
were going to be good?
No, So this is like 5, 6 years ago when who's the old mate who pretty good player went over to Hawthorn?
Chad Wingard.
Chad Wingard. I'm pretty certain it was Chad Wingard, and they hypnotised him, and it was pretty. It was pretty funny. But they basically convinced him he was delisted. And he started crying. And he went up to, what's their coach's name? What's the coach's name?
Ken Hinkley.
Ken Hinkley. And he was like, fuck, let me keep my spot. And then Ken was like, you can keep your spot if you can kick a football. But he'd hypnotise him to not be able to
kick the footy,
drop the football. So he went to kick the football and it wouldn't come out of his hand. And he was going, he's freaking out. He was going, he was so upset.
That's awesome.
Now I'm 99% certain it was Chad Wingard. But fuck. And I went, this is incredible to see.
Something in this.
And that was my first real exposure to what it could be. And then obviously now having, my mic. So obviously having Chelsea on a couple of times, talk about hypnotherapy and how you can get into the depths of your mind and help you rid yourself of certain habits and stuff like that. It's really intriguing.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's funny. Like it's one of those things that I never get bored talking about it. You know, I do it, but I love chatting about it as well because I know how interesting it is. I know if I'm sat on a plane traveling to a gig and someone says to me, "What do you do for work?" If I say I'm an office worker, they're like, that's nice, and then they'll put their earbuds on. But if I say I'm a hypnotist, I know we're going to be in for a good chat for a while. So
So did you have like a mentor? Did you always want to do it, or did you accidentally realise that when you were talking, people would fall asleep, or you could get people to do what you wanted? Or
all right, you rattled me. Okay, you got it.
I was very boring.
Do you know what? Look, so I was always fascinated with how the mind worked, right? Yeah. And I actually first started kind of getting super interested in memory. I saw a guy on TV when I was really young who memorised a shuffled deck of cards, and I was like, wow, this guy must have some kind of like weirdo brain. And then at the end, he pretty much said, and I don't have some kind of weirdo brain. Yeah. This is just a technique you can buy in my book. And I was like, so I bought the book and I practiced this technique with the cards and the remembering names and all these bits and pieces. And sure enough, a phenomenal amount of things you could do there. So then I was like, well, what? With the right technique, what else can you do with your mind? And I've always been in entertainment. I started DJing when I was 15 and went into radio shortly after that as well. And so I've always been interested in the entertainment side of things. So then I was like, okay, let's go and see a couple of these stage hypnotists. Yeah. Unfortunately, back then, as entertainment, it was kind of very old school, kind of mysterious. Oh, this is the power I was born, all that rubbish,
Yes,
So you looked kind of a bit weird. You looked kind of like you tried to shroud it in mystery. Yeah. And so, as much as I kind of loved the process and the idea of it, I couldn't see myself in that kind of role. But years later, when I actually spent a long time in radio actually, but years later when I quit radio and I had a chance to kind of reinvent and think, do you know what, instead of going back to radio after I take this year off, maybe I'll put a hypnosis show together and see what happens. And and that's what I did. But I always had this kind of outlook that because I've been to shows where there's some very adult hypnosis shows out there, but I've always sat in the audience and thought, there's a market for this, but quite often you're sat amongst people laughing at people's stage thinking, God, this is hilarious, but I'm glad it's not me up there. Yeah. And I always thought, wouldn't it be better to be sat in the audience looking at what's happening on stage and thinking, oh, this is hilarious. Damn, I wish it was me up there, you know? And so I always kind of came from that angle, and I've, you know, I just have a sense of fun in life in any way, and I just wanted to kind of bring that to the stage and to the shows, and that's kind of how we've rolled out,
I've got the same theory with my stand-up when guys roast or pick on the crowd. I'm like, when I go to a show, I don't want them to just be fucking bullying me or like the person next to me feeling shit. So when I'm on, I don't make them feel, I want them to come back and watch me.
So you have fun with them.
Have fun with them and flip the script and go, guys, I'm not going to pick on you, like, let's have a chat. Because, that's an interesting
it makes everyone feel really comfortable.
And I loved your, we were chatting before the pod, you explaining that it's basically, it's like when you watch a movie and you get that sort of sense of sadness, knowing it's a fake movie, it's not a real scene.
I mean,
the sense of fear when you're watching a horror. You're still getting those same sensations. You know it's not real.
I found this like the almost the easiest way to explain it to people, because you know it is hard to say. No, it's like when you do this and do that. But the moment you kind of say, "Have you ever cried in a movie?" Yeah, of course I've cried. Well, like, that's your brain making something feel real at the moment, because you know the dog's not dead. You know, someone's literally just sat down and made this story up. But your brain makes it feel so real at that moment, and you know that's what we do on stage. We just make moments feel real in the moment.
Is that part of your priming to get them to say yes and be agreeable as well, or is that just you explaining it?
No, it's a genuine explanation.
Cool.
I mean, I do, because what happens is I don't want any. I kind of smash a lot of the myths that people have, maybe got in their minds about what it is and isn't. Because if you ever see hypnosis in a TV show or a movie, it's going to look weird. It's going to look crazy.
Yeah.
But you don't see the process, and you don't also have no idea about the psychology around it. So I literally like to come up and in just a few sentences, I have that ability to kind of go, oh, it's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, I kind of get it.
It certainly made me feel very comfortable as well.
Good.
Which is great. But
Well, I when I was, I think, 12 or 13, I had a book on NLP, and I got really, really into it when I was younger, and reading about the processes and how the use of language and the thought, the speech patterns and the mirroring of the body and all that.
What does NLP stand for, sorry?
Neuro-linguistic programming, is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was fascinated, and then I would watch Darren Brown, and then when I went to your show years and years ago when I maybe when I was mid-20s, I think, because how long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it 12 years, but I think this is my 9th Fringe, maybe.
I reckon I went there 9 years ago because it was before I started stand-up with my little brother, and I was one on stage doing the hand thing. And because I was listening to what you were saying, I'm like, oh, this is what this bit is, this is this bit. And I was just completely not.
So you weren't
listening. I was analysing what you were doing. My brother next to me ended up in his underwear. So
that's not my show then. That's definitely,
it might have been someone else.
Definitely not my show.
I was going to say, you don't have to hypnotise me to get me nude in my underwear.
So maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was someone else. But I remember going, it was about 9 years ago. I'm going to go see this hypnosis, and my little brother was in his jocks sitting next to me. Didn't even realise. He's like,
hey, do you know? I know the show you mean. I know whose show that is. I know the show you mean, and it's a million miles away from my show.
Yeah, right. Okay. But I was trying to analyse what was being said, and it took me out. And then I also, this is going to be a hell left turn to see where my brain went. I heard about subconscious, then superconscious, and past lives and stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard about any of that stuff, or if you believe in it.
Well, the thing is, I come from the most scientific way I came around this, and so for me, past life regression is there's no scientific proof of that. I mean, your mind has the ability to kind of really create something and make you feel like it could be real. But how come is it when we always whenever I hear reports of people doing past lives, it just turns out they've been an amazing princess or a count. No one was ever the cleaner in a
you were a janitor in the 50s.
Because I went to someone for that, because I was like, I wonder if it can happen. But when she was trying to hypnotise me, I was just picking it apart, and I just couldn't. I ended up just having a little nap.
You just have to be very careful about false memory. I mean that's a lot. I mean, you can be 100% committed to think I think that was correct, but you see so many so many tests on these, so many experiments on these, even simply remembering the color of a coat on someone like an hour ago, and like absolutely no, it was definitely that color, and you roll the tape, and sure enough, it was not that color. It's
which is why eyewitnesses should not be allowed in court,
or
taken with a grain of salt,
corroborated by multiple.
Would like lawyers and stuff learn these half of these sort of techniques, suggestibility and that? Is that something
to try and commit perjury?
Well, not like to make someone remember a situation.
Possibly.
Obviously, lawyers work with a very big power of suggestion when they're trying to convince a jury, of course. So, I don't know if they're studying this kind of thing, but of course they're probably naturally gifted in suggesting to something that this could have been the case.
So when you were looking into it, this was when I was reading it. I wanted to try to do it, but I was almost embarrassed because if it didn't work, I was like, oh, this is going to be weird if they're not hypnotized. I feel like a bit fucking, I'll feel dumb. When you're the very first person you hypnotize, were you like, fuck yes, I did it? Or you're like,
it worked.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was kind of, because if anyone who knows me that I am willing just to kind of give everything a go. I don't care, because I've always got this thing of like, what's the worst going to happen? I'm gonna try this, and see what happens, right? So. I had no problems with trying out multiple people and having it didn't kind of work. But the first time that I really kind of was like, oh, hang on, what's happening here? That was quite amazing. And that back then, I mean, we do things a lot quicker now, but back then that was quite a traditional thing, like really a kind of meditative state with someone, you're walking down the steps and then take another step and allow that. What does that feel like? Through the garden, imagine the green, really creating all this to kind of that, and now,
That's what I did with Chelsea.
And so, but then the moment you came to that crossroads of testing an actual suggestion and it worked, that was like, whoa! Hang on.
Did you have to internalize that though, so you didn't take him out of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But and this is the funny thing with a show, because over the years I've actually been invited to teach people all around the world how to put a show together, a hypnosis show. And the most common thing people are worried about when their first show is like, but what if it doesn't work, or what if blah 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 blah. And the problem with this, there's no real testing or rehearsing without doing it for real. So literally the first time you're ever doing a show, you're kind of like almost crossed fingers thinking, well, I hope this works.
Oh, Jesus.
So, did you, I mean, I would always have that worry of charging people if it didn't work. Was your first show like a free one to test it, or were you just like, I'm backing myself in?
No, tickets. Yeah, absolutely, tickets. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
And is there workshops, because you're doing it en masse, right, instead of one-on-one?
Yeah.
So different technique or same technique?
No, different technique. So what I use in the show is a process of a few minutes, which is designed to work well across a group.
Yep.
But of course, it's not going to be the perfect amount of time. It's not going to be the perfect technique for everybody, and that's why you see, if I start with 20 people on stage, on one night I might keep 10, another night I might keep 8, another night I might keep 15, and it just depends how people are receptive to that. And so I'll say, hey, you're going to enjoy it better from out there, but we'll end up with a group that we use for the main part of the show. In a hypnotherapy office setting, then it's great, because then I can kind of go, okay, this person needs more of this technique, or they need a bit more attention to this part of that process, or lengthen it. So it's easy to kind of more tailor make that in a hypnotherapy setting. Yeah.
And is every single person hypnotizable, or are there some people that just aren't?
Yeah, I think we all have an ability, but I mean, of course, not everyone's going to be. Yeah. I think we all have I think people who I mean, and I see this in the show, I've got people who are desperate to take part, and they might come up first time, and for whatever reason, their mind's too busy, or they were
the busyness.
Yeah, they felt the air conditioning going, and that was suddenly took them out, or whatever, and it's not great for them that night. Second or third time, they may be the first person down and the absolute star of the show. So I think there's kind of like vague stats out there, which it's hard. I don't know how they measure it, but I think they. So a lot of people are very good at this, but there are 10% of the population of what we call somnambulists, which are very, very good hypnotic subjects without any prior go. And,
So, and I guess that those similarities between the meditation, because lots of people aren't very good at meditation the first time they do it, and then through practice and through continuously doing it, like I constantly do. I do it daily now, and if I can't get it, I notice it when I don't get it. This morning, like I had 15 minutes before I went and checked on my daughter. She wasn't awake yet. Bang, quickly get my 10 minutes in, like anything. Yeah. But I've now refined it down to I couldn't do it. I just couldn't I couldn't work it out. But now I can sit down within 30 seconds. I'm in that meditative state. I'm doing what I need to do, or
And this is kind of the whole key to the hypnosis process in general is that, and how your mind gets into a certain way of thinking, is because what you've done, you've now trained your mind to such a point that it knows how it feels. Yes, it knows how you get into it. Yeah, and so what actually happens is, obviously, it has an expectancy. It's going to be like that. Yes. So of course it becomes. Your mind's not even having to think about meditating now. No. Because it's subconscious.
I can sit down, take 2 deep breaths, and I'm in. Bang, deep. And that I used to do a 15 to 20 minutes and go, I got fucking nothing out of this. I was just thinking, I was busy, I couldn't get into it. 30 seconds, bang. And it's just simple for me now. And that's through practice, I guess. But
exactly.
It's also helped me with my watching of my thoughts. Yep. So like I can go, I've just reacted poorly to that, or whatever.
Well, that's and that comes into that thing. I explain that as putting a weight on a thought. Why is it someone can be on the freeway, someone cuts in front of them, and it ruins the rest of the day. And, oh my God, they're on the horn, they're giving the finger, they get to the work and they're all riled up, take through the day. And someone else is like, it's the exact same situation happens. Someone cuts in front of them and like, oh geez, idiot, God, glad we're okay. And anyway, start singing along with the radio and they get to work and nothing else happened. Like there's no difference in those two situations except the weight that someone has put on that thought. And so, they've really put massive negative weight on that thought. And that it's a neutral thought to start with. Yeah. But it's what you attach to it.
Yeah. I've never been a big angry traffic guy ever. It's until recently, I was talking to Branchy about it, is when they try to introduce the wave to say thanks to stop road rage. Yeah. If they don't wave at me, that makes me madder.
Oh, do you know
I'm like, say thanks, you fucking. And then I amp up more.
Is that the Inspired Unemployed just did that skit?
Yeah.
They just did that skit.
I'm so annoyed. I was like,
let him through and he doesn't wave and he fucking holds him in a fucking basement with a chainsaw.
I think. Do you know what? That, honestly, I'm absolutely with you. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't have to let you in there. And you didn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah. Say some thanks, man. Say some thanks. So
but I'm loving these similarities with meditation, but also the mindset sort of stuff. It makes me start to... you must have a bit of knowledge on things like placebo effect and
I love the placebo effect
because the power of the mind. We know they use it as a measurement to see whether medications work. So we know it's a thing potentially, and we don't know how it works really. But I don't know. You would have a bit more of an understanding of how it works.
Oh, it's just it's just suggestion, expectancy. If someone says this shiny blue pill. Is going to make you, is going to make you feel like a buzz for the next 5 minutes. If you're someone who's good at
give me 20
suggestion, and you don't know it's just made of sugar and nothing else. Yeah. Your mind can create the expectancy that's what's going to happen, and so again, it's creating those mental tracks already for your thoughts to run along, rather than just be, I'll take this, see what happens. Yeah. This is going to do this. Yeah. Like I said, I like to call it mental tracks because we've laid something down. It gives your mind a little kind of thought track to run along rather than just open. Yeah.
So would that suggest that, and a lot of people say this, that basically everything we want is within us already, like all of our sort of, even down to healing, we can do it ourselves?
Oh, well, look, I mean, I don't believe that because obviously, if that's true, people
would never die.
Growing arms back and things like that,
to a point.
But to a point, there's things which obviously you're always going to need medical attention to fix them up. But, but along the mental side of things, I'd say that's got to be mostly true. There's definitely thought patterns that we can get stuck in, which cause stress. Stress-related illnesses, do manifest themselves in genuinely, physical
ailments.
Ailments. So
So with the science part of it. What's actually happening with our brains when you're getting hypnotized? Like when you're using your speech patterns and when you're doing what you're doing, what's happening to our brain?
Well, I can't tell you exactly what's happening, but I can tell you what some of the tests have shown, and which I think is a fascinating way of explaining it, is that they've done some tests where they take, let's monitor everyone's brain waves on this, and you're going to listen to a piece of music. They play a piece of music and they track what lights up and what parts of the brain light up. Okay, cool. Okay, I think it's a PET scan they call it. So they track this. Okay, cool. Okay, now they say to someone, okay, what I want you to do, I want you to imagine hearing that piece of music, right? So they imagine that, right?
Yes.
And then they see what part of the brain lights up, right? And then they hypnotize someone and they say, now you're listening to that piece of music. Of course, they're not, right? But it's, they believe they are in their mind, right?
Wow.
Now, when you look at the scan pattern for the hypnotized to hear it, even though it's not really there, it is way closer to the actual listening than to just the pure imagined listening.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah.
Because they've done that experiment. I think they call it the piano experiment, where they had I think it was 100 people in the test, and they were given like 5 notes to play for 2 hours a day,
right?
And then they had to imagine it, and the grey matter in the brain grew in the exact same area as it would as if they were playing it.
Right? Yeah.
So,
I can imagine that.
So then, if that's the case, then you're saying it's even higher under hypnosis. Then that's incredible. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, and outside of comedy, do you do hypnotherapy for smoking, quitting, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I have done a lot of that in the past. It's very hard for me to fit it in with the show work, especially this time of year. But there was a time I was doing a lot of that, and actually more often that, although I still try and do some one-on-ones when I can, and again, not this time of year, but I actually do some group sessions. I've been working with a lot of big corporations. We'll go in and they might have 50 smokers or 50 people who want to help their weight management or their stress, and we'll do kind of a big group session. And
what's the success rate of something like that? Is it?
It's good. It's good enough to be invited back multiple times, so it's good. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, I don't hear from everybody, and it's certainly not going to be 100%, that's for sure. Yeah. But when I do those group sessions, I can't say, these 50 people are all going to be brilliant hypnotic subjects. So I don't use a technique like I would in a one-on-one situation. I'm using a much more general thing, a lot of strong visualization, a lot of education about how the mind works. So, because it's almost like once you know the tricks that your mind plays on you to get you into this area where you don't want to be. Yeah. Once you learn that tricks, it's harder to be fooled by those tricks. Yeah. So, it's easier to kind of break those patterns.
What have you found to be one of the triggers or the most successful things for, let's just call it smoking? Is it something that's like someone's fixing a trauma or a desire or something that makes them feel safe, or does it vary between?
In that getting rid of it?
Yeah.
So what's happening with smoking is that if someone does it, let's say 20 times a day, they might do it 8 times a week, they might do it 50 times a day. It's different for everyone. But that pattern stays the same. Yeah. A 50-day smoker now was probably a 50-day smoker 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. 10-day smoker. So it's not going more or less. So it's not an addiction, because an addiction, you're going to have to keep upping that dose to kind of keep getting that hit. So so it's just a pattern your mind's got used to. So we just have to kind of get in and break that pattern. But the easiest way to do that is saying, look, this is not a bad pattern. Like the actual pattern itself of something reminding you to do something 50 times a day is quite a good pattern, right? Yeah. But it's just doing something.
I think a few wives want their husbands to have this reminder thing.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's almost like your mind's also trying to do something good for you, because when anyone took up smoking, they didn't take it up because they thought, do you know what? I want to put a few dry leaves in a piece of paper and set fire in my mouth, right? Yeah. It was the association at the time. For most people, they took it up when they're younger. It was the association. Smoking meant they were part of this group, made them look cool, made them feel rebellious, sticking it to the man, whatever it is, right? Yeah. If I say to a group of 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, whatever, hands up who thinks you're still smoking because you're still sticking it to the man. Yeah. No one is putting their hand up. Right? So what happened is the habits remained. The reason you took it up has disappeared. So in that smoking situation, we kind of say, look, your brain's probably thinks it's still doing something good because it's like, hey, I can make you feel part of this cool group. Hey,
Yeah.
so that's there. So we kind of have just to kind of like, wipe that away.
Yeah.
And then also there's a very big turning point I find in those sessions. And it's almost like the light bulb moment, because some people have tried to quit multiple times. And some people haven't, but just believe they can't, right?
Yeah.
And when you say to them, okay, look, if you went to the doctor and the doctor said to you, mate, this is killing you. If you don't stop today and you walk out of here, there's a chance you'll die tomorrow. Would you give up? And, if I say that in a group, there'll be probably 75% of that group will actually say, no, I probably still wouldn't give up, right?
Yeah.
So then what I do, I start to I've already created a couple of moments in there. Like I want you to think of the person that you most love in this world. Think of what they mean to you. Think of what you mean to them. Imagine all the time you get to spend with them in your life, and how much that time means to them.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of build that nice thoughts up. So then after we've asked that question about would you give up if the doctor told you that, let's flip it. If tomorrow you went to the doctor and for whatever reason they said to you, if you don't quit smoking, that is going to severely impact the life of that person you were thinking of. Would you quit? And almost 100% people will put their hands up at that point. And it's like a snap in a moment, because suddenly there's a little...
You think you're someone else almost?
There's a little gap. Yeah, there's a little gap in their thinking. Whereas they knew, like, if you said, okay, if your daughter is going to be severely affected if you continue smoking.
Yeah.
Now you're widening the thought of the impact.
Yeah.
Because most people don't think of the impact. It's they think of the impact on themselves,
Yeah.
and they don't value it as much.
Yeah.
But what would you give for another 5 years in your life with your daughter?
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
One of my triggering moments in the last month or two for me was unknowingly what you've just said.
Right. Okay.
Was to be better for my daughter.
Yeah. So it's
but not for me.
Yeah.
So it works on everyone but sociopaths and psychopaths that have no empathy for other people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's creating an emotional connection rather than just I'm going to die physical. Fuck it. It's all about myself.
And that's it. Some parts, most people get to take their smoking habit seriously when they're on the other side of the doctor's table. Have said, well, that stroke was because you were smoking. Like that. That's the time that they go, oh, now I've got to take it seriously.
Yeah.
But it's a way better chance to take it seriously before that.
That's true. I've got a mate, and I fucking love him to death, but he's
So do the cigarettes.
He's never gonna change.
Yeah,
and he's old enough to. He's definitely never gonna change.
Yeah,
he's lost a toe. He's had strokes. Heart attacks.
Seen it all. Yeah,
and he's just at that point where he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not changing now.
Yeah.
So I let him go, and I'm like, yeah, mate, all good. You live your life, but
also, what is absolutely key to people succeeding at quitting is getting to the point where they are the one who wants to quit as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they feel helpless with it.
Yeah.
They've got to want to quit, because a lot of the times, in the past, people would have phoned me up and go, oh, the doctor said I've got to quit, or my partner said, oh, please come when it's time. So I guess I should do something about it. Yeah. And at that point, I'll say to them, like, you're not ready. I'd love to help you, but you give me a call when you're the one, because it's got to be you. You got to want to do it, right?
Yeah.
That's so common. It's so common with everything. It's like Chelsea, anyone who comes on and speaks about these things, or like even just making a change, you're never going to make the change unless you're the one who wants to do it, which is, it's such a very common thing.
Yeah.
So what's the go with that book where people read it from start to finish? Is that a self-hypnosis one? Do you know that Quit Smoking book?
I don't know what it's called. Alan Carr's I
really?
A lot of people have quit.
Yeah, Mush. Do you know Grant Musher?
Yeah.
So he did that, and he was like,
fantastic.
I stopped.
Yeah,
through reading a book.
Yeah.
That again, that is a lot of just good education. It's laid out in a brilliant way, and what you're doing, you're educating yourself again about, okay, well, I'm an idiot doing it. Yeah. And it's almost like, whether it's hypnotherapy or a book or something like that, like you get to the point, it's like, why am I a slave to these tobacco companies?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why am I lining their pockets for my ill health?
Yeah.
So you suddenly become, it's like ripping that curtain back and going, Oh, God, was that all the time, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about any weird things people have come to you to try and quit or get help with? What's your strangest request?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, like phobias cover a lot of area. Even though, like, you can kind of basically say the technique to get rid of a phobia is like insert phobia X here.
Yeah.
Sometimes those phobias sound strange on the outside, right? But I will tell you, someone who generally come to me for a fear of red buttons. I mean, how specific is that, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Fear of red buttons. Any other buttons, fine, right?
Russian or American?
Little toe.
That's your best call ever on the podcast. That's it. I'm calling it right now.
Or it could have been Emo from X Factor. Yeah. And, is a little toe a red button as well?
No, or something as bizarre as like fear of little toes, or there's all sorts of what we would consider weird. But here's the thing: you speak to someone who's got a fear of red buttons and say, do you know what? Person before me, you know, they got a fear of flying, and they were like, "Oh, that is ridiculous." A plane is designed to fly. It's turbulence is fine. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So again, just because that is their thing, like it's equally ridiculous. Some of those more common things. So I mean, there's just lots of weird things that people have there, and and they don't have to know where that fear originally initiated from, but it's generally from it's normally from either a learned response to someone else responds like that. Like if someone's, as a kid, so like, don't go near the spider, don't get the spider, don't get the spider. Every time you see a spider, no matter whether it's small or big or whatever, then you as a kid, you're going to learn that response. Or it can be some kind of like weird, crazy moment happened, and then that's going to put you off. Your brain almost kind of goes overprotective. And kind of goes, every situation where I see a spider, whether even it's a photo of it, I'm going to react like, oh my God. Right?
Yeah. That's like you and a hardball get.
I was going to say, so is fear like a strong factor in, like, I guess that's still a form of hypnosis, isn't it? Associating like a spider with fear or whatever. Is that a form of like
or
hypnosis?
Avoidance or something?
Yeah. It's it's
or self-hypnosis to
it just ingrains it in your mind. Like those big moments ingrain it in your mind. So
is that, and that's been talked about several times recently in the last year, popularized by someone said on Rogan, but mass formation psychosis and how fear has changed the way people sort of think. Is that something that is like in that hypnosis field?
It's not something I've really come across or kind of cross over with. So not really.
Unless he's part of the mass formation trying to deflect us.
I guess though, like if you're saying obviously positive things and promoting positive things with habits can help promote those. Fear could be the
okay. No, I kind of understand what you mean. Yeah, look, if you've got someone out there saying something in such a way that it is perceived as real, it's perceived as genuine, and it's perceived coming from authority, even if that information is not correct, like there's a lot of things that build into you believing it to be true just because of all the other things that are suggesting it around it. It's just like
confirmation.
I think there was trying to walking into somewhere with a clipboard and a high vis jacket on. It's straight through security because that suggests you are someone genuinely there to check something and so those things are also it's not a verbal suggestion, but you're picking up suggestive ideas from other senses. Yeah. So
that's basically how propaganda works.
Yeah, and is that in the same way? And maybe it was Darren Brown who did this experiment. Is that the one when they ring the bell and everyone in the doctor's office sits and stands up?
Yeah.
So that's a suggestibility of what, like, is that just showcasing what humans are like? They'll just see something happening and they'll join in along.
Have you seen that experiment?
I have seen that experiment. Yeah. I mean, obviously with TV, you never know exactly what the setup is behind it, but obviously the basics behind that kind of like conditioning is something.
They kept doing it, I think, when everyone left the room. Hey.
Yeah. So
the person that was like, "What the fuck's going on?" Standing, sitting, and then when everyone left and it was just them.
Yeah. So for the listeners
continued to do it
that may not have seen it, there's a doctor's surgery or something along those lines, and then there's three people sitting in there, and every minute or 30 seconds, a bell went off, and that's when the other two people who were in on the joke stood up, and eventually the person who came into the office clued onto it and started standing up with them just for no reason.
Yeah, conditioning.
And then once those two left, she kept on doing
Still
it.
doing
And
it.
then everyone else who came in was like, okay, well, I'm standing up. And so it just became this, I guess that's...
mandates and masks and
I guess
everything
that-
in society.
I guess that is how propaganda works, like good and bad.
Yeah.
I guess like suggestibility, you could probably enforce good habits on people using the same sort of...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you... do you use that technique to help with like ridding of cigarettes or something like that? Enforce like... Is it probably a
sounds
bad
like-
way to replace it with a good habit?
It sounds like it's all positive from what you were saying before.
So there are different ways that people that people approach those kind of things, and there's some certain ways which that some hypnotherapists work where it's an aversion thing, like, so that's going to taste disgusting if you put it anywhere in your mouth, it's going to taste like this and and which is it may be a successful way, but I kind of prefer to actually get rid of the actual like the need for that cigarette. So I personally prefer to kind of build the positivity around it, like everything about that, like the reasons why that's no longer needed.
Yeah.
The reasons why you now know, why you were doing that, and like, oh my God, you can take back control. How good is that you now control your life?
Oh, I like that.
So, and again, that's not to put anything against those aversion style. It's just not my style. I'd prefer to kind of like.
I guess you don't want a negative reaction. You'd rather be feeling good about why you're not doing it.
Yeah. And you just kind of want to like, you don't want it like. You don't want someone not to smoke the cigarette simply because they can't get it to their mouth because of the taste, right? So I mean, I can make you not smoke because I'll make it that you can't pick it up, but like it's you're still actually going to want to smoke. I'd much rather just get rid of that desire.
So instead of like, and I'll just use my own personal stuff over the last few months, it's like losing a little bit of weight. Before I was associating with my patterns were like, stop eating like shit because you're going to get fat, instead of like eat healthy because you're going to feel good. So there's the
Think of the
positive
things you can do.
Instead of the like eat healthier because you feel
Yeah.
better and you like all that, instead of, so I've started associating it with the positive and fucking massive impact.
So this comes back to what we're talking about in those group smoking sessions I talk about, because I do this visualization where like, imagine being able to run for longer out with your kids, or imagine being able to get back on that footy field after 10 years of not being up to it. Imagine, because
get me
when
on
you
there.
If you can hypnotize me to fix my back. Can you that's probably a pretty cool thought. Can you hypnotize pain thought patterns? Because
yes, you can. Actually, because pain is more a mind perception rather than, you don't want to damage yourself because you can't feel the pain.
Yeah.
But you can definitely, if there's a lot of people who live with long-term pain, and you're actually able to dial it down, you know? So you're able to have that ability to actually kind of turn that, that feeling of it down.
Because I tried self-hypnosis on this, because pain is your brain responding to something.
Yes.
So I've had 5 back surgeries currently. I've still got like a 7 mil bulge. Oof. When that flares up, the pain is debilitating.
You barely walk up these stairs. It's,
So I keep thinking, I'm like, is this in my head or is it fucking right there in
Well, I mean, of course, when it's physical, when you got a 7 mil bulge and that's happening, obviously there's something physical here, but the actual pain you feel with it, that can be dialed down.
So that would be pretty cool.
So, and this will directly relate to Delby in certain ways. So I had a very similar problem. I had some bulging discs and problems, but when I went to the back specialist said, yes, it's there. It's a real problem, but 90% of the problem is because there's a problem. So you're tensing up, you're creating these issues, which is making the problem worse. So there's a very real problem, but exacerbated by you mentally protecting it.
And we see it, we see it on the sports field, like, big finals where someone's playing and then they come off and they discover they've like really injured an ankle somehow, but the buzz, the adrenaline, the everything, the focus on the game and everything is just kind of kept going. And then it's only once they've come off that field, they're suddenly in absolute pain. They've looked down and seen it and then like, oh, this really hurts. So it's been switched off though. For a while.
Well, I can tell you in a grand final, and you've played in a grand final, when you know there's no next week, you
don't
get
give a
through
fuck.
anything.
Yeah.
You'll throw your body into. But for the other 19 fucking weeks, you're like, just be a little cautious because you have to play next week. But when it's grand final, there's this mindset change. You'll go back with the flight. You'll fucking, you've got this fearlessness.
It's like McGovern playing with his broken ribs and lung, and Stephen Baker playing with a broken foot in St Kilda. And Dale Morris played with a broken back for the whole Bulldogs finals when they won the flag.
It's crazy.
He broke his back and played the next 4 weeks.
Spinal.
Yeah,
He broke his back. Spinal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. I guess that's a bit of power of the mind. Obviously, a lot of fucking painkillers and cortisone and shit. But there is a lot of power of the mind in that sense. I remember my last game at West Perth. I dislocated my shoulder 4 times in the game, but knowing that at the end of that game that was it.
Yeah.
It was just this little mental edge where I go.
Is that self-hypnosis?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, like if you'd been sat at a cafe and suddenly dislocated your
I'm
shoulder,
I'm going straight to the hospital.
You know what I mean? So,
Well, actually, that's a perfect example. I'm at work. I dislocate my fucking shoulder, lifting up a piece of metal. First thing I do is fuck it. I'm going home.
Yep.
I'm going to the doctors. Whereas in the football game, I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to keep playing.
Yep.
So there is 2 different situations where.
But your mind is like so focused on this other thing that shoulder is the secondary thing at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, but once it becomes your complete focus, you know, you can put all that attention on there.
Yeah.
Then it starts to hurt. Yeah. Fuck, wow, cool.
What I was going to ask before when we mentioned Darren Brown, I was actually on his show, but he didn't hypnotise me. He just did a mentalism trick where he was blindfolded and he beat me at tic-tac-toe. So pissed off. Because I was 18 in London, just walking around. Some lady's like, "Do you want to be on Darren Brown?" I'm like, "Who's that?" She's like, "He's like Chris Angel." I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." Bet me £50 and he beat me. But from there, because I was on his show, I started watching his stuff and really loved like how he fucks with people's minds. But he did ones where he'd walk up behind people and just hypnotize them by like pressing or like doing something unexpected and just drop them straight into sleep. Does that work, or is that does he prime them before and we're not seeing that?
So again, you know, we see what's on TV on those things, right?
Yeah.
So I know how I would do it, you know, and I would basically, I would create that moment beforehand to be able to then recreate it
In secret? Or like that, would they not know?
Would you just go up and have a chat to them randomly on the street and then...
Yeah, I know. No, I mean you're going to do something permissive with them, of course, and then that, and I think that's a bit of a misnomer amongst people on certain beliefs. Like, oh, you can get me to do it. And like, no, this is a permissive thing. You know, if I could just go around getting people to do whatever they want, I certainly wouldn't be stood on stage every night. I'd be stood by the ATM. What's your PIN number? That's my card.
Because I have watched that, and it's very similar.
It's one where he confuses them.
Yeah, and then he asks for their watch and shit, and and then they give him their phone and stuff, and then
that's through his way of speaking.
Suggesting,
But what I will say, a instant induction, a rapid induction, is going to work on a number of people for sure. So you could probably go out and film 15 or 20 of them.
Yeah.
And you might get 1 or 2. You know? So you put those on the TV.
And everyone else is, what the fuck are you doing? Get off me. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it possible? Absolutely.
Yeah. Because here's a bit of an R-rated one as well.
I need to go to the toilet. Keep going. Sorry.
As I talk about R-rated, what are you going to do? Yeah. So, got me thinking, like, if you can do power of suggestion and you can make people feel intense energy from, like, I don't know, touching their head.
Yep.
When it comes to your partner and sex, can you give people incredible orgasms with the power of their mind?
Well, it's certainly not a service I offer, Delby. If you're trying to look for a gap in my diary.
Not for me. No, like if you're with your partner.
I understand what you're asking. I understand what you're asking.
But look, dude, if you can snap me into.
Look, there are hypnotherapists who specifically work with couples on creating.
That would be awesome.
More moments, yeah. So, again, it's you're focusing on something you want to achieve.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
because you'd have to break down the walls and stuff as well of that person going, I can't get there or whatever. You'd have to replace it with a positive.
Yeah. It's just the same process of mental education, what you're trying to achieve. okay, what are the associations and triggers?
Yeah.
You know, how do we realign those? You know,
Yeah.
how do we, you know, get to that positive outcome? How do we get your mind focusing down this way instead of this way?
I got to learn hypnosis. There was something else I was going to ask. With your stage shows, have you ever had any like massive?
Actually, do you mind if I?
Yeah,
do you
go,
mind-
go.
And then we'll come straight back to that.
Yeah. I was asking Matt if.
I heard a good laugh while I was in the toilet.
Well, I was asking Matt if, like, with your partner, can you get them to have better orgasms?
Oh, please give me advice.
And he goes, I'm not in that service if you want one, Delby.
Classic. But what you were talking about with energy? Because you were talking about energy exchange, were you?
No.
But is that what I heard as I was leaving? Something about creating energy in the other person?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard that. Maybe I just made it up in my head.
Yeah, maybe you're hypnotised.
Maybe I'm hypnotized. Yeah, sick. But it makes me feel so much more comfortable about this whole concept of hypnotism. Fully now aware of the fact that it's basically just an intense form of meditation.
Yep.
Just like full the process that he was taking me through before and stuff. That was very meditative.
Yeah.
Is that the way you
Meditative. Yeah.
meditative? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get you to do some stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you don't have to do anything to get me nude or fucking do stupid shit. So I don't know what you're gonna try and get me to.
Pre-potty, Branchy was having a chat to Matt and getting put into a state. So we'll see if we can bring that back up.
It'd be interesting if my head drops and I go bang. But I do. It has made me feel so much more comfortable about this subject, knowing it's not this woo-woo sort of thing. It's just retraining of the mind almost.
So with what we were doing before, does Branchy remember all of that?
Yeah, you're aware of the process. Yeah,
Very
sorry,
aware.
I missed out on what we said. So you're chatting about what we just did off air.
Well, sort of half. We're just talking about that. But I do remember everything. It felt quite comfortable, very like the meditative state.
And is he still in that state under your control?
No, it's certainly not under my control. But here's the thing. So just to kind of backtrack. So basically, before we recorded, we kind of like giving Branchy this kind of mental training to be able to put himself in that nice relaxed state in an instant. So here's the thing. If we were doing this on TV and not talking about it, this is where it would look like crazy because, he'd suddenly be able to put himself into the state really quickly. Yeah. But you wouldn't have seen or heard about this thing beforehand,
Yeah, so we're talking about Darren Brown and stuff. And
yeah. So,
and is all the stuff you did before, is that like a closely guarded secret that you don't share? Or is it like the magician circle where the hypnotist, like you're not supposed to...
No, not at all. And in fact, the process that I went through with Branchy before, you actually see me do it on stage with a group.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, because I love it. I want it to be open. I want people to see the process. I want them to understand it more.
Yeah.
And so it's entertaining. When you see 15, 20 people going through those, and it's only just a few minutes, when you see them going through those few minutes, it is entertaining because also people in the audience are like starting to spot people like, they kind of relaxing down and then they might be thinking, oh, the guy in the end's not so relaxed, and they'll probably see me go and tap that person and say, hey, you're probably best in the audience.
Yeah,
like
Wolfie.
Might be hard to switch him off.
But was my, I guess, and we spoke about the meditation before, was my like the fact that I do almost daily, is that helpful?
Absolutely. The amount of people after a show who say to me, oh my goodness, the moment you start speaking, it's put me back into my yoga, my meditation, my mindfulness, it's so, the crossover is huge. I always just say, what I do, it's the same state of mind in a different context as all those things. Yeah.
So, can we do something with Branchy or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay here and you'll be nice and relaxed. I'll just move this back slightly there.
Okay.
So, okay.
So just moving the mic back.
So just rest your hands on your lap there and
do I need to be quiet?
Yeah, it would help for now, just for now. But we'll bring you in just a moment. So, so obviously you remember how that felt back then. Felt nice and relaxed and super focused with the imagination. So again, we're just going to kind of pop you back there. So, like you were able to kind of get into that meditative state very quickly, you're going to be able to do this very quickly as we've already kind of primed you to do that. So, just take a deep breath in and sleep now all the way down, loose, limp, comfortable and relaxed. Now you hear every single word I say, absolutely aware, just feeling fantastic. I'm going to count from 1 to 5. You just allow yourself to relax even more. 1, feeling good. 2, becoming more relaxed. 3, all the way down. 4, feeling absolutely fantastic. And 5, just relaxing there, feeling amazing, so good. Now, here we go, Branchy. Here's the thing. In a moment, I will say 1, 2, eyes open, going twice as deep. When I do, you'll have that ability to act on a suggestion, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how normal it is, whatever it is, will feel completely natural and normal to you at every stage. Absolutely, completely natural and normal to every stage, no matter how ridiculous or silly that suggestion is. I obviously want to make you feel good, so everything we do will be filled with that kind of fun surrounding on that. But just want to just really make you feel fantastic. So here we go. So just to let you know, in a moment, I'll say 1, 2, eyes open, twice as deep. When I do, anything that me or Delby says will suddenly seem very funny to you. So much so that the more we talk, every single word will get funnier and funnier. And you can laugh louder and longer. It's going to make you feel good. I want you to feel absolutely fantastic. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about something serious, something normal, something boring to you. Even that will seem just ridiculously funny, every word. Just nod your head if you understand. Good. So 1, 2, eyes open, twice as deep. So it's great to finally be here on the Hard Yarns podcast. So it's great to get a
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I did get caught in some traffic on the way, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
it's
And then they cut me off. When they cut me off,
yeah, I know.
they didn't give me the wave.
Yeah.
That pissed me off.
Yeah, I know. That's the word. That's absolute worst, isn't it?
You feeling all right, Branch?
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually stubbed my toe on the way in on that bottom stair, which was actually a really very painful
Branch's mate
experience.
can't stub his toe because he doesn't have one.
Yeah,
So.
I mean that's terrible, isn't it? To be in that kind of state.
That's the
There's no respect. No respect here. He's gone.
He's gone.
He's absolutely.
We got to have a look at the video footage of this.
Branchy, take a deep breath in and out and sleep now. Lie down, loose limb, comfortable and relaxed. All right, we'll just allow him to relax again. Okay. Yeah. So this is what's really interesting. This is just from that suggestion, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, actors trained to make this look as natural as they can for years.
Yeah.
But we're able to kind of turn it on and off just with thinking about it.
It's like natural magic mushrooms there.
So here's interesting. This will be kind of interesting because obviously this is all about talking into these microphones. But next time I say 1, 2, eyes open, twice as deep, Branchy. Each time you go to talk, unfortunately, each time you go to talk, your tongue will suddenly fall out of your mouth. So it's going to be very hard to talk. So each time you go to talk, you will attempt to talk, but your tongue will just kind of like be just kind of dropped out your mouth. It will seem natural and normal to you. You can continue the conversation as it were normal. Nod your head if you understand. Good. 1, 2, and eyes open. Yeah. Good. So,
well, the other thing we talk about a bit on this podcast is aliens. So I'd love to see if we can.
Some aliens. You got any thoughts on aliens there, Branchy? I've not experienced anything like that before.
No, I don't have any thoughts on aliens. I've got plenty of thoughts.
This is.
I've got plenty of thoughts on aliens. There's been so many UFOs in
What? So many UFO.
UFO.
There's been lots of things on US.
You do sound quite different to how I've normally heard you.
Yeah.
There was.
You never make
There
a
was
radio
lots. There
has been.
There have been lots of UFOs in the.
Yeah. Hey,
There's been
It's quite frustrating.
Because you're quite an expert on it. Have you any idea what ET stands for? What?
Extraterrestrial. Extra.
And sleep now. Lay down. Loose sleep.
Can he contact them?
I'm sure he's got a few messages for him. That's for sure. Well, here, let's give him the ability to speak properly again, Dan. However, obviously, if so, Branchy, in a moment when I get your eyes open again, in a moment, you will have the ability to speak perfectly. But the strangest thing will happen: you'll actually completely forget your name. I know it's going to seem strange, but you completely forget your name. You'll have the ability to talk as normal, but it's almost like it's on the tip of your tongue. But I mean, weird because, of course, the name's very dear to you. You hear it all the time, but you'll be completely forget your name. 1, 2, eyes open. Fantastic. So, obviously, I know, roughly, I know how you call yourselves on the podcast, but do you have your official full name?
Yeah, well,
you're Daniel, right?
Yeah, so
Daniel
whenever I tell people like Hard Yarns, I'm like, I'm Delby, and I co-host it with.
I know it. I'm trying to say it. I'm actually trying to say it.
Say what?
So,
Fuck. I know it. Wait. No.
It's a Hard Yarn podcast with
Delby and...
Fuck. No. Wait. Do it again.
Okay. Welcome to the Hard Yarns podcast. We're here with Matt Hale, Delby, and
Branchy. Got it.
He's got it.
It took me a while, but I didn't see it. It was there.
Sleep now, all the way down, nice and relaxed.
Is that like a breakthrough when you...
That's beautiful. You're just trying to keep punching through to finally break through. See the elation at the end. That's beautiful. How about this? Let's get a little creative. I think we need to do this here. So this time, Branchy, this is fantastic because when I say 1, 2 eyes open, twice deep, you'll be suddenly the coach of the newest franchise in the AFL, and that's the Hard Yarns Hammerheads. I'll ask you about the team. You'll be the coach. There will be some strange ways you've set up the team, maybe in terms of outfit, maybe in terms of moves, maybe in terms of players. I'll inquire about those. But for you, you're very, very excited about the new season and having the Hard Yarns Hammerheads in the AFL League for the first time. Nod your head if you understand. Good. 1, 2, and eyes open. Now, I know along with the podcast and all the amazing things you do, you've now found the time to bring the new franchise to the league.
Yep.
Exciting times. I was interested though because the traditional Guernsey and shorts and socks has been a staple of most teams, but you've decided the outfit needed to be a little bit different to kind of stand out this year. So what have you gone with?
So definitely we're going with more the running shorts, which is like it's got the slit down the side, so it makes it far more more mobility and better for you to
streamline.
I think may have seen that in training and stuff like that. But playing on game days, it's going to be good for our mobility. And we're actually going with a singlet and skin tight lycra sort of style. So it's harder to grab. And it's
did you run these by me, man?
No. And we went with purple and blue, so it was a clash with the Dockers, which is pretty...
okay. But I was keen to know that why you weren't wearing traditional footy boots. You were wearing something completely different we'd normally see.
Yeah. I don't know why, but we've gone with roller skates.
You've gone with roller skates. That is... I mean, to me, that would make it...
I have no idea why, but I think we're thinking as long as we can get it approved by the board, we'll be able to get through and it'll give us the ability to glide through and be a faster moving team. So
that is quite. I mean, I think it's gonna bring quite a spectacle to it.
Well, considering our defensive mechanisms we have in place, I think being able to rebound from that defensive 50 on the blades with speed is going to be pretty important to our.
For sure.
What was particularly exciting for me though, of course, obviously you managed to recruit some key top legends of the game, but you also looked outside of the traditional sporting arena, and you kind of thought you were going to bring a couple of movie or TV stars in, which was very progressive. And so who is it that you've signed?
We actually went with Dean Capobianco, who used to be a runner, but he actually started hosting TV sports. And I thought he'd bring that sort of the speed that we were trying to get from defence, but also the, what the fuck am I talking about?
And there's the moment of realisation. Hey, Branchy, take a deep breath in. Branchy, sit back here and sleep now, all the way down, loose, sleep, comfortable, relaxed. And there it is. Let's get him back. Take a deep breath in and out. And keep those eyes closed. I'll count from 1 to 5. We're going to get from 1 to 5. Everything's be back to normal speech, normal patterns of thought, everything. You're going to feel good, of course. So 1, becoming more aware of surroundings. 2, obviously this is much more normal, comfortable around you right now. All your nerves, energy, body temperature returns to normal. 3, take a nice energizing breath in and out. Good. 4, like a nice rush of cool fresh air, cleansing your whole body. Then 5, open. Let's give him a nice get around because that was incredible.
Wow.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think.
Do you remember everything?
Yeah. I remember the whole thing, and there was moments where I was realizing I'm fucking saying stupid shit, but kept on saying it. Like there was about roller skates, rollerblades. But there was as soon as I said Dean Capobianco, and I started going, why the fuck am I recruiting a fucking Olympic runner from 10 years ago who became a commentator?
I like the
Because
fact
it was speed from the rebound 50.
I like the fact that like rollerblades in AFL was fine, but Dean Capobianco is way too far.
We can have roller skates, but not Dean.
That's incredible.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, why did you choose him out of every possible TV actor and star?
That was really. It's an incredible feeling of knowing I'm saying
Talking
stupid shit, but continuing on with it.
I was going to say this is what I say to a lot of people, or when I speak to a lot of people after the show. You know, like probably the most common experience is like I was aware of what I was doing at the time. I just seemed to question it at the time, though.
Yeah.
You know, and so that is that. Whereas in a normal setting, in a normal thing, you kind of like. You know, if I said to someone, "Hey, get up and you know you're flying a jet fighter plane and it's upside down," you'd be, well, "That's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that." You know, but yeah, in that moment, I'm flying it now and upside down. It's crazy. You know, I'm holding on tight. And, and it's you're aware you're doing it. Of course, I'm in this plane right now. You know, but it's only afterwards you're like, no, that was kind of weird.
So
right?
the name thing, I could not. I sort of half. I forgot Branchy initially.
Yep.
And I didn't forget Cameron, but I was trying to say and I couldn't say it. I couldn't get it out. Or maybe I didn't forget. Maybe I forgot Cameron, but I was remembering I was trying to say, and I couldn't even say it.
Dean Capobianco.
And then when you said the Delby, it was helping lead me into Branchy.
Yeah. And also we give the suggestion on that one that's on the tip of your tongue, so it's there somewhere.
It was there somewhere. That's how I felt.
You know,
and you did say that
because we've all had. You know, sometimes when you just kind of like forget a word, like it's like the most common word. Like, how do I not know the word for like sandwich? Or something?
Yeah.
You know, the two pieces of bread with it. What's that called?
I thought that was dementia. So I'm like, I keep having that the last year or two. I'm like, man, I know it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Now,
what is it? How do I say it?
The longer it went, the more I felt like I could break out of it. Is that a thing? Is that like early on? I felt like I can tell me to do anything.
Well, to be quite honest, what we did, we actually kind of ratcheted it up pretty quickly, right? So, if in a show setting, we're ratcheting it up, but over a longer period of time.
Okay.
So we quickly went from like laughing at something, which was so nice to see genuine laughter.
That's how I felt. I had the fucking I could.
I wanted to talk about like my grandparents being dead and just see if you could laugh.
So we kind of starting kind of cool, but we actually went from laughing at anything to AFL roller skates quite quickly.
Yeah. I felt like I got my AFL coaching head on, and I was explaining why the speed was going to be important to our defensive mindset that we had in place.
You trying to talk with your tongue was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember it. Yeah.
But so it's it's like I said, it's kind of like focused imagination.
It is. That's what it was.
Kids are great at it. Kids are amazing at it. They're just adults. We sometimes forget we can just really kind of look inwards and just kind of really jump into that imagination.
So breaking out of that is that like a part of my brain not wanting to be in that, I'm trying to break out, or is there like a part of me like if I was trying to get something out of it? Is there maybe I'd indulge in staying in that state? Is that how like the hypnotherapy?
I mean, it's very hard to tell. I mean, like every now and then I'll see in the middle of a show someone who's been like really great, and then suddenly something switches. Like there's a routine I used to run, which is basically they people using their phones but they can only swipe with their tongue, right? So like, and they said, well, you got to swipe. And so, like I remember, a few months ago, some girl who was like amazing. And then she was like, after the show, I said, what happened? And then she said like, oh, the thought of me putting a tongue on a phone where my dirty fingers are, it was just like that, like that sudden awareness, suddenly like, everything external suddenly came back, Now,
I know we talked about it being it's obviously helped that I've done the meditation and the mindfulness, and that sounds like a positive thing. But does it also mean I could be very suggestible to being influenced in the wrong direction, or like, for example, misinformation, disinformation has become a buzzword at the moment. But if someone was to suggest to me in the right manner something that was wrong or incorrect, and I might buy into it like a conspiracy theory, is that a danger as well? Like,
you're still someone who has reasoning and
critical thinking.
analytical skills, critical thinking. So it doesn't make you more susceptible to that. I mean, the only thing that would be is if you were going to sit down, relax down. Now tell me something that's not true. You know what I mean? I'm open to now believing what you're about to tell me. But we're all open to suggestion in various different ways. You could not been thought about having some fast food, and suddenly you drive past the biggest Hungry Jack's like billboard, and suddenly think, oh geez, yeah, I could go a Whopper. You know what I mean? Like it's suddenly we're all open to suggestion, and that's advertising.
Could you make people become more honest under hypnotherapy? Or is that
no, I mean, here we go again with false memories. I mean, I could say, okay, now you're going to tell me everything that's true, but is it true? You could believe it to be true. You know, it's hard to. I mean, I've been contacted in the past by people who want help. They've lost a piece of jewelry in their house, and they want me to put them in hypnosis so they can find out. And so, well, that's great if you know you misplaced, like you put it in a safe place, because you have a memory of where that went. But if we might be able to kind of take you through, and then finally, I put it there because that was a safe place and it's really hidden that no one else would find it, and you kind of forgot where you hid it. We might be able to kind of pull that out. But to be able to, I lost it. Well, I can't create where you lost it. You might think, you could create in your mind that, that's right. It was when I stepped in the doorway with a bag of shopping, and it must have fallen off, and it's gone down there. And then, sure enough, you go there, it's not there.
Yeah, because I need that during Fringe after packing down shows. I'm like, fuck, where's my mic? I knew I had it here. Where's my card reader? Because I'm doing I got like 10 minutes between things.
Because you will say something that you think is completely honest.
Yeah.
And I remember I've done that with like drinking stories with mates, and you sit around and you're talking about it, and you've been telling this story for 10 years the same way. And then like one of the guys who was there, who you haven't spoken to for a while, and they come, no, don't you remember you were that? And you were like, I've been telling the story like this for the last 10 years, and I thought it was true. So I guess that's the same thing. Like if you were to try and put a murderer or someone or a psychopath under hypnotherapy, and they believe that what they've done is this, and that. It's not going to work anyway,
there's a caveat on all that. There's ways those things can help, but you do have to put that false memory caveat on. So for sure.
You saying that like you knew it, and then you realise what the fuck am I talking about? That reminded me of a girl that I used to hang out with. If she would have, like, if we were on a bender and drinks or mushrooms or something, she would be talking without herself realising she was talking, then go, what the fuck am I talking about? Or like she's half asleep when they're half asleep. And they're talking, and then you go, what? And they're like, oh, what? No, I didn't even know I was talking. That's what that reminded me of.
Wow.
When you said somnambulism, does that just mean waking sleep? Or it's like somnambulist is a sleepwalker?
No, I mean, somnambulism is basically someone who's very highly suggestible.
Right. Because what's someone that sleepwalks and talks?
That is...
Something.
I can't tell you. I don't want to say the wrong word.
Is there any link between that state where you're half asleep and someone's talking to you and you're talking back and hypnosis, or is that different?
Oh yeah, do you know what? I liken this on stage all the time, that like, sometimes going through the process, like sometimes if you're maybe in bed and you're like, no, I'll sleep this through, and then you kind of like, I really want to go to the toilet, but you can't be bothered to get up, and you think you're sleeping through, but then that thought just keeps you awake, and so it's like that during the hypno process. Sometimes people like, afterwards they're like, oh God, I just really need to go to the toilet. And so their mind wasn't able to kind of fully commit to like picture this, imagine this, because in the back of their mind, I'm imagining this, but God, I really want to go to the toilet. So that sleep situation, that dreamlike state, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely.
What's have you had any horror stories on stage? Like, have you had anything go wrong, or like something happen where you've been like, oh fuck?
Oh no, nothing crazy. I mean, I guess with the structure of the show, there's always a lot of safety suggestions in around it. You're not going to go anywhere near the side stage, blah blah blah, and all these things. But there, for sure, are there things where I suggest something and I don't expect the outcome? Absolutely, to some hilarious consequences. Like one of the funniest ones I always remember is that. I was doing this show, and at the time I was running this routine where someone thinks they're an alien, and I ask them a couple of things, and they're talking in an alien language. But one of the things I always ask them to do is like, I know that on your planet, you don't handshake as your formal greeting, so can you demonstrate on me? And I've had all sorts of things, bumping elbows, cuddles, all sorts of weird things. And remember how small I am, but this massive unit of a guy, like big, tattooed, huge guy towering over me, just like literally bent down and licked my head from the front to the back. It's like,
That's great.
Like, there's no way I was ever going to think that was a thing.
And then Matt's just gone,
did he step out of it like the phone girl, or did he stay in it?
No, because to him, that is the way they greet. Yeah, that is the way we greet on our planet.
and you've just looked up and you go, Palladian. But I guess you're used to all this sort of stuff being like in the entertainment industry, and you alluded to it before. You don't just do that; you DJ. And I didn't know this until I had a quick little look through, like the symphony. You were doing the symphony stuff.
I've been a host of symphony. That
looked awesome.
Yeah, so that's been amazing. Unfortunately, I'm not around for the next one, but it is coming to Perth in March. I'll be in Adelaide Fringe, but yeah, that's an incredible event. I go way back with dance music. I started DJing when I was 15. I just came through the era of house when it first kind of kicked in, and I DJed professionally for a number of years, but then I'd still just occasionally play out.
Got the crowd in a trance.
Trance
music.
Well, here we go. I'll come to that in just a moment. Bookmark that, because I'd love to just give you a quick reference to that. But so with Symphony, it was just amazing. I got the chance to kind of host that and be a part of that, and that's basically like the classics of dance music, but played with a 60-piece orchestra. So
good.
Cool.
We did a couple of times at the RSC Arena here, and then more recently I was out in Singapore.
That's what I saw. Looked
amazing. Yeah.
That's wicked.
But coming back to that, so
Yeah,
I a few years ago I started to think I really want to like mesh my DJ background and my current hypnosis background together, because there is a massive overlap. Because I would always see we use these kind of like hypnotic phrases.
Hail.
But when you see someone and say like I'm just kind of like you lose yourself in the music, obviously trance music, because it's repetitive trance, and you kind of put yourself into that zone. People zone out in the dance floor, they just truly lose themselves. So I was like, well, people like accidentally kind of end up just in their own little zone on the dance floor. So how do I actually mesh what I know now with that? And so I came up with something called the Hypnosis experience, and we still run it every now and then. We basically we've tried to make it more immersive as we've gone. It becomes more immersive. So we either hold it in a venue, sometimes in a club, but we've now put silent disco peoples on everyone. Silent disco headphones on everyone.
Yeah.
I have custom visuals, and I DJ an hour set, but I have a headset at night. And so throughout this set, I'm guiding people's imagination with what's going on the screens and tying it to the music. And it's like a really high elation experience. I kind of say it's like a guided visualization to dance music, but it happens on the dance floor.
Legal ecstasy.
Do you know who's...
People are buzzing after it. Yeah.
Now, not on that sort of hypnosis level, but has dove. What's the word? Dove
It's on the
into?
tip of my tongue. I'm not sure.
Dove into as tip there. Oh, I can't speak right now. Anyway, What's So Not is doing that. Big like igloos, and the visuals on the wall, and then the music sort of like going within the visual. So it's a whole immersive experience.
Yeah.
But you're doubling down on that, and
because I know the language patterns I can use to kind of like actually kind of speed up that process of switching off and just really having this kind of like
sick
big experience. So it's interesting.
Incredible.
Yeah, people.
That'd be a good event, like Hot Dub Time Machine. He does that through time. That would be sick. I reckon you'd have fucking.
We'll be bringing it back to
again.
After Fringe, we'll be
love
bringing it back to Perth. Probably middle of the year, I think. So
Now, like for something like that, you'd anticipate a few people would come and take drugs during that. Would that would completely fuck that whole experience? Would
Well,
it, or would you?
Look. Do you know
Depends
what?
which drug.
Do you know what? I ran this. I would certainly advise against it, because like this is like the mental equivalent without having to put anything in your body, right?
Yeah.
But last year I was running this in Adelaide last year, and like this group of 4 guys left like half an hour in, and my my producer, I was like, "Are you guys okay?" Because I thought they didn't enjoy it, and they're like, "Oh my God, no, we took something, and now this is far too much." They were like just completely spinning out. They were like, "This is too much."
On the shrooms and just like, wow. Yeah, right. Yeah, because you'd have to assume that coming in with a clear mind would be the perfect way to experience something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
No distractions.
Yeah.
If you do that again over here,
Probably middle of the year. I think we're looking at for it. Yeah,
Awesome.
Super keen.
And the show you're running currently is 80s themed, is that right? Top Gun 80s themed?
Yeah, Top Fun. Actually, I just
Fun.
went with because actually normally every year, because I love all my kind of music, I normally pump each show. I write a brand new comedy hypnosis show every year, and I normally pump it with like big tunes from the year leading up to it, and try and theme it with certain like what are the big things, what are the big movies, what have happened, and I maybe try and put some routines around those things, right?
Yeah.
But this year, when I was kind of in my writing phase, I was going through listing things, and I was like, wow, what's the biggest movies? What's that? And so of course, Top Gun was a massive movie, so I've got to do something like that. And then because I always kind of put this kind of theme of fun around all my shows. Oh yeah, Top Fun. What a great name for the show, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine a poster, dress up in the flight, so it's going to look stupid because it's me, and it does, and it works really nicely. But then as I was going through everything else, I was like, wow, Stranger Things was back, and running up the hill was huge, and then a lot of 80s kind of like vibes, and I was like, I've never themed a show. Why not go all in on 80s? It seemed to have a good, real
cool.
retro appeal.
And smart as well, to go on that.
And do you know what? It has been stupid fun. It's been really fun,
And
And
as Wolfie suggested, fucking before the pod, like killing. The crowds have been huge.
We're very lucky we had some. We've been.
And you might have said this at the start. Where were you hosting that?
State Theatre.
So I've been at State Theatre, but we've now finished the run there. We're actually at the Court, at the big main stage there.
Yep.
And then I got one show left in Scarborough. So, but we do a couple in Scarborough. That's my home suburb, and the main venue is the Court. So for the final week. So
I think it would be awesome if you did like an Avatar, Lord of the Rings, Marvels one. Because you have so many cool.
Delby's just giving me a mental erection. Right? And that's fucking.
Imagine like people thinking they're Avatar and they have to do all the rituals of the avatars and Lord of the Rings.
Incredible! I'd just be fucking Samwise Gamgee the whole time. Come on, Mr.
Man.
Frodo.
We
That'd be cool, a fantasy one.
During one of the past shows, I did put a few kind of alternative superheroes in. So we had like Ironing Man. And it was like, so every time we played the Iron Man theme, he'd get up and start ironing and stuff.
So good.
But we might have to theme a whole new show around it.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, 100%.
Fuck. All right. I feel like I've been to Club Gnosis.
No, it's been fucking very fun episode. So you have no more shows to plug for the rest of the year?
The Court.
I'm not sure when this goes out, but So
today.
actually, of course, all right. Oh, go out today. Oh my God, quick turnaround. So I'm in the city at the Court until Sunday. They are selling really quick though, so I think Friday's almost sold out. Scarborough on Saturday night, almost sold out, but you can get tickets at the moment. And then I go to Adelaide. So for your Adelaide listeners, I'll be at the Adelaide Fringe from next Tuesday, and I'll be there for 25 shows right to the end of the run there. Yeah, and then we do a few shows around the country after that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah. Delby, you got anything to plug?
Last weekend of Fringe, basically. So everyone knows where to find me. There's only, I think, 20 tickets. There's only like 15 tickets to each show, except for Sundays. There's about 30 left.
Cool.
And then we're doing comedy at Elford March 17 and Simpsons quiz on March the 9th at Left Bank. But DanielDelby.com, as always, guys.
Busy.
I got nothing. I've finished Fringe. Not that I did much, but like finished my spots.
You got to go back, coach the Hammerheads.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Got to go to source those rollerblades.
Fuck, that's a big contract. Replacing those wheels every week. Jesus. All right. Very good episode. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Hooroo.